call myself 1%. You might be at, I don't know, 20%. But imagine if you're Brad Pitt. It's impossible. The world's impossible. How do you navigate meeting a billion people that know who you are? It's not.
But I think what's most important, though, is like with me, I like to believe that what you see is what you get, right? I think where people get into problems or have problems is they personify themselves one way on a podcast, and in real life, they're not. And so like if you wear different masks and you're somebody on a podcast and then you're somebody else in your personal life, when you come across people and meet people, if you're not genuine and real, it doesn't resonate with the people. And then they realize what a bullshit artist you are. And that was one of the biggest things. And I'm sure you dealt with this, starting what you do and putting yourself out there. You have to be genuine, and you have to be, authentic in your approach. And so it is important for me. Like, I go to a conference and everybody says hello, and it's like, I stop and at least shake hands and give them 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 4 minutes, whatever it takes to make sure that you leave a lasting impact on people. I never want somebody to walk away from the conversation being like, that guy's an asshole. You know what I mean?
I know. And like I said, I've had a very limited exposure to this, but I have had, dozens of people come up and say, I feel like a personal weight when they walk away. I'm like, oh man, hopefully I did good for them or whatever. Hopefully if I met someone that I wanted to meet, I would want to walk away from that feeling like they saw me and heard me and appreciated me. And I genuinely do, but it is there's only so much time in the day, and you want to just give them that. But so before we get too deep in the weeds like we easily could, let's kick this thing off. Well, we're here with Jeremy Donch of National Fire Radio. It's an honor, the Godfather. I don't know if you would own the title, but I think in the fire service world, in the media of fire service, I don't know if there's anyone higher on the arc than you.
I don't know about that.
Corley's very high up, and this has been one from the beginning of the podcast. This has been a beacon that I've been looking at, a lighthouse, a proverbial lighthouse, as how to do the fire service media world correctly and have authenticity and a real voice, and have something that people trust and turn to look for information and guidance. So thanks for being that, man.
Well, you know what? If anything comes from this, I'd like to believe, I've been doing this a long time, and, I'd like to believe that if I can influence others in a positive way to share their insights and knowledge by putting themselves out there, and have a podcast or have social media that is promoting the fire service and the core values that we need to protect, then I'm doing my job, right? And that for me, all those nice accolades you just said and all those kind things, that means the world to me. But at the end of the day, this is just who I am. Whether I'm in front of a camera or not, I love the fire service. I'm protective of it, and I have my own ideas and opinions about it. And I'm not afraid to share them. They're not always going to be right, but at the end of the day, I like to think that I navigate this space in a way that it's trustworthy and transparent. And I think that's most important. So if I influenced people in any way for them to start a podcast or do anything to promote the fire service, then fuck yeah, brother. I love it. You know what I mean?
So with that, I kind of want to, so I'm going to pre-warn the audience. I'm going to try my best to not give you the Jeremy Donch interview that you've gotten before, right? I'm not going to ask you about the origins of the podcast, and we're going to talk about real stuff, and we're gonna cut through the bullshit. Hopefully, not that that's bullshit, but it's been said before. I'm not gonna make you do it again. Here, I'm gonna hit you with this though. You just talked about the idea of influencing the next generation to be influential and have a voice and make it known. So with that, is the fire service influencer culture a good thing, or how do we navigate this? Because I would argue that there's a spectrum.
100%. There's nothing black and white, right? Like when you think about it, there's always been delivery methods of how we get information out to people. Before social media, it was magazines and trade journals, right? We've always had conferences, but conferences aren't super high right now. There's always been that method of delivery. And even when you had just the trade journals and magazines, yeah, most of your people were vetted, but people got through the cracks there too, and were teaching out of league or talking at a church on things that they just don't know about. And so we've always had that part of it. And I think you can't remove the human nature of it, right? So it's like you're always going to have your people. You have people speaking publicly on things that they've never done. You have people teaching classes on high-rise operations, commercial building fires, tenement fires. They've never been to one in their life. We have people teaching extrication training that's been to a few door pops in their day. Like you have to look at like the validation of these people, and it really comes down to just human nature. Like, I'm in it. I've been doing this a long time because I enjoy it. And I believe that we National Fire Radio brings value to the fire service. And I've always put the mission of that in front of my own ego and gain, right? Like, and early on, I struggled with that too. Like when you start something, and we were early, 2018, we were early to the game. And so I struggled with ego very early on with this, thinking like, wow, look how popular it's getting. And, oh, people know who I am. And, oh, it's this and that. And it's like, it goes to your fucking head. And at some point you have to check yourself. And that's why you need a core group of people around you to hold you accountable. And so early on I was younger. It was 8 years ago, it kind of went to my head a little bit when I was developing National Fire Radio and becoming a name in the fire service. And a lot of people were very skeptical of me and what National Fire Radio was because it was so new, right? And so I had to be very careful with that. What I've come to recognize very quickly early on was that it has to be about the listener and the fire service and not myself. I can't be selfish in my endeavors. I can't do things for gain. I have to do it in a way that it's done correctly. National Fire Radio is a passion project for me. I love being a fireman, but I have a life outside of the firehouse too, where I work for another business. Very successful at that. We had a family business for many years that I've talked about on the show that we sold, and I still work for that company. And so I have a whole different life outside of this. So this is really a passion project for me. And so it's important to remember that it's about the mission. It's about giving solid information and talking to people in the fire service authentically. And it comes off without ego or bravado. It comes off in a way that I try to bring value every single day. If you keep that as your mission and you look at that as where you need to go, and as an influencer, you'll make the right decisions and you'll bring value to people. It's only when people get confused, they let it go to their heads, they have their ego get in the way, they start talking or teaching or doing things that's not in their wheelhouse. Like, you're not going to see me tell you how to stretch a line. I'll talk about stretching a line all day long. I'll talk to you about the fires I go to all day long. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm not going to tell you how to force a door. I'm not going to tell you how to throw a ladder. I don't have the teaching and instruction pedigree. I'm not a ghetto fireman. I'm not a guy that goes to fires every single day. So I'm staying out of that lane. And I recognize that, right? I've watched people come up through social media and through podcasts, and they get very confused because they start to get some traction and attention. And before you know it, they go outside their lane. And when they do, the fire service is very good at holding you accountable, right?
They are. It is.
And I think that's why I've had the ability and the staying power with what I do. I talk about management and leadership, right? I talk about, the fire service culture and traditions and the history and how important our core values are of the fire service. Those are things that I am absolutely passionate about. I'm a manager and a teacher and a leader. I come from a place of owning businesses and leading people on the fire ground. So I have the experience to talk about that. But again, I'm not going to talk to you about strategy and tactics unless somebody asks me my opinion. And that's where people get confused. And if people would just recognize that if they stayed in their lane and they're good at and they talk about what they know, nobody can hold them at fault for that. That's the most important part, brother.
Yeah. And what you're getting at, which you kind of already touched on, is that authenticity. And so you kind of compared social media as the modern day, trade literature or something.
When you take a shit, what are you looking at? Right? You're not looking at a magazine anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to, years ago, that's where you read your firehouse and fire engineering, right? Firehouse magazine, I would thumb through and look at the hot shots, right? That's where you spent your time, 20 minutes in the bowl, 10 minutes on the bowl. You were reading magazines, right? At the kitchen table, we were thumbing through magazines. Today, We're not doing that. We're thumbing through our phone. And where do you dissect or where do you digest content is on your devices, and your devices are showing you what? Social media, podcasts, YouTube, right? So this is where today's fire service lives. And organizations that don't understand that and that stay romantic in the way we used to do it versus the way we do it today are losing. They're losing street credibility, and they're losing the opportunity to capture the attention and educate the next generation.
But so as this new medium emerged or is emerging or whatever you want to call it, social media foundationally is built off of lack of authenticity generally.
100%.
Right? Everyone is faking it. Everyone has the greatest life. Everyone's always in the Bahamas.
That's right.
Whatever it is.
Yep.
So not only how do we as quote unquote influencers, which I hate the term, but how do we hold a different line than the rest of social media, and how do we encourage people to engage in social media, especially through these outlets, and still manage to sift through the inevitable cloud of bullshit that is social media?
Yeah, social media sucks, bro. If I could get off of it, I would. Really.
Yeah.
I mean that in a million ways. Yeah. Like if you go on my personal social media, I haven't posted on my social pages in probably 4 years. I post National Fire Radio content because that is where the attention is of the fire service. And so that's where I post. But personally, I don't post on them anymore. I have no desire. If I didn't have National Fire Radio as a podcast and social media platform that does marketing and media services for the American Fire Service, I wouldn't be fucking on it.
I don't have personal social media at all.
Bro, I don't even know how to use Snapchat. I don't have it. I don't have it. Right?
Yeah.
And I look at, and you bring up a really good point, because how do we use that in a positive for the fire service? It's by putting out vetted, qualified information by people that are willing to share. The problem is that you build community. People believe that their thoughts and opinions matter today more than ever, right? Everybody's opinion matters and everybody's feelings matter. And so they're going to let you know. And what's fucking wild about it is when you look at my social media, we're doing between 5 and 6 million impressions a month across Meta alone. That's not even YouTube and TikTok. That is Facebook and Instagram. 5 to 6 million impressions in a 28-day run cycle. The amount of comments we get are wild in how they range. We get the comments that are supportive, share ideas, tips, tricks, hacks. Hey, that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. And then we get other people that be like, you're a fat piece of shit. You shouldn't be fucking. It's wild. It's wild. And when you look at that, it's like the audacity that these people have, that they wouldn't tell me that to my face, because in my world at 49 years old, when you talk down to me or say shit to me, I'm coming back with a fucking fist. Right. Yeah. And that's one thing that we got to talk about in the fire service, right? Because at the end of the day, the accountability is not there on social media. People can say whatever they want. And you know what? I can't take that away from them, but I'm also not going to hide comments, and I'm not going to block people, because I want people to see the pieces of shit that these guys are. And a lot of times it comes down to older guys on the job, which is wild when you think about it, right? Because they know better, so they're going to let you know how much they know.
Yeah, it's see, I've went on this whole kind of like story arc with my comment section. And so at first I think I would say that I'm a sensitive guy. My wife would agree. At first I was like, oh man, I was kind of like reading the comments and taking some of them hard. And now I've went complete reverse course. Nothing do I enjoy more than like whoever has the best roast. I genuinely read the comments and enjoy that as who the hell are these guys? Right. It's like, so by no means am I encouraging the bad behavior, but personally, I do kind of enjoy to see what the flavor of the month of why I'm an idiot is. It's kind of enjoyable.
I mean, I think it's, it's one of those things that's, we all are, we're a walking contradiction, right? And it's like, I'll tell you, I don't read the comments anymore. And I would say 85% of the time I don't. And then 15% of the time, like, oh, let's see how this one's popping off pretty good. It's got 300 comments. Let's see what the common theme is, right? And you start thumbing through them and I'm like, but I don't get angry or upset at it. I actually feel sorry for these people, right?
Yeah.
The fact that they have enough time in their day to watch my content and then leave a nasty message. I feel sorry for them because I know in my world, I don't have time for that.
No
and the
way.
fact that that's important to them, the fact that they find value in one-upping somebody over a keyboard is pathetic. Like, I don't, there's no Raz there. Like, you're not, what's that? When you hit enter on your keyboard and leave a nasty note, do you feel better about yourself? Like, cause I look at you and I say, man, I feel fucking sorry for you. You're a fucking loser that you're going to spend time on Facebook leaving negative comments for people.
For sure. Yeah. And also, what sphere are you running in? Who are these people? Like, who are these people? Do they have any friends, or are they just like, I can't imagine. Or is it completely fake? Is their normal life, they interact with people civilly and then they get online and they just are someone else entirely? But it is remarkable, some of the things that people choose to fight about and comment on, and then like tear each other down about. It's like one guy comments, the infighting between the comment section of, hey, what about this? I think that's a great point. And the other one's like, you're the stupidest person of all time.
Yeah, I looked you up in your profile. You're a fireman in a podunk town. Yeah. You don't know shit. Fuck off. And you're like,
can't we all just be civil here?
Man, it's over the top sometimes, man.
So with that, right, you're one of, if not the largest firefighter podcast. I don't know where it actually ranks up, but you got to be very close to the top. What responsibility comes with having an audience that large?
Massive responsibility, right? Massive. I never understood, it was always from early on, the mission was to bring value. And I did not realize or understand the gravity of that until we started getting messages several months in where people were talking about, hey, that episode resonated with me. Hey, I'm going through some shit right now. Hey, I got, my marriage fell apart because of my drinking. Hey, I'm a bullshit artist. I'm behind on my taxes. Hey, I can't even begin to tell you how many people have personally reached out, and that becomes a whole nother animal. We've had, I had a guy reach out and tell me that he sought help after listening to our episode, and he was on his way to do something really, really unthinkable.
Wow.
And when I sit back, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because it's emotional for me, because like, who the fuck am I? Right. But I recognize that everybody needs somebody, and there are a lot of I'm like getting teared up, man. Like you said, you're sensitive these days. I get sensitive about this because
it's important.
I think about how many people are just lonely. How many people are just looking for a conversation or a smile or just a quick like head nod, like, you good? Like, hey, what's going on? Like, I think about that, and I get caught up in this too, where my life is so busy and I have so much going on that, have I checked in on my closest circle? Am I really dialed in on my children? Right? I mean, I have all adult kids now. So it's like, am I really dialed in on them? My daughter's in Florida this week. I had texted her the day she left and it's already Thursday. And I'm like, shit, I haven't even talked to her. My wife talks to her every day, but I haven't. And I feel terrible about that. Right? So it's like, we have to be more conscious of our surroundings. And in my Bridging the Gap program, I talk about walking with your head up. We spend so much time focused on ourselves today that we're always walking with our heads down, looking at our phone, more wrapped up in our own shit. How about we just pick our heads up and look around? When you walk around the store, smile at people, even if you don't know who they are. When you check out at the 7-Eleven getting your Zins or whatever the fuck you're buying these days, like, smile at the guy and say hello, put a tip in his jar. Like, that can make an incredible difference. And I've learned that. And what's really cool, Jake, is like, through National Fire Radio, I have been held more accountable than I ever have held myself to before in life. And I find today that through these experiences and the stories that people share with me and the insights they give me and so on, it's made me look at myself and recognize that I have to do better. Like, I need to be a better person myself, because people are looking at me as an influencer. People are looking at me as something to emulate in some ways, whether it's my opinions or thoughts, or when I talk about loving my family, or I talk about work and entrepreneurship, whatever it is, it resonates. People are always looking for something, and it all of a sudden something pops and it resonates with them. And now all of a sudden they look at me as like somebody that like might have some influence in their life or in their world. And so I have to make sure I'm doing better. And I try very hard every day to remember those stories of people that were just looking for a voice or a friend or something, and they found that through our show. I am eternally grateful for that, but it's held me more accountable because now there's a spotlight on me. I didn't ask for it, but I did. You didn't ask for it, but you did. You have a camera in front of you now, and you're putting yourself out there, and you're going to say something one day, and I'm sure you've already had it happen to you, where it resonates with somebody, and they're going to come back to you with a text or an email or a direct message and be like, hey, man, listen to that episode the other day. You really hit me in the gut with that. I'm just looking for a little support or just something, like whatever it is. That's going to happen to you because you're putting yourself out there, and we owe it to people to give back to them. If we're going to put ourselves in this position where people are going to listen to what we say and they're going to take in the ideas and thoughts that we have, we owe it to them when they send that email or text message or DM to answer them. Mm-hmm. We owe it to them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where longevity is. And that's where, when you recognize the importance of the mission of what this is this a selfish endeavor to inflate your ego and try to monetize and make a side hustle as podcasting and social media? Or are you doing this to promote the fire service? And if you're doing it for the right reasons, then you're going to take those moments to stop, shake a hand, and have a conversation, or answer those emails and phone calls and texts. And that's incredibly important. And you have to hold yourself to that standard. Mm-hmm. You have to.
Why do you think that, I would imagine your demographics are very similar to mine, that are probably 95% male, 90% male, something to that regard. Yeah. Mine are similar.
Sure.
Why is it that the modern male is so lonely and looking so much for that community?
Because I think everybody's living in a falsehood. I think so many people, to your point, how many people are faking it on Instagram? Right? How many people are renting limousines to take videos in the back of them, or renting an airplane for 20 minutes to take photos in an airplane? Like, people do this shit. And when you look at I think everybody is in a competition today. And I've gotten to a point at 49 years old where I just don't give a shit about the people around me and what they do. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that, like, I really hope you're doing well in life. I hope that you have your shit together. I hope your family's healthy and you have a loving marriage and healthy children. All that is super important, right? But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to compete with you, right? And I think everybody thinks it's a competition, right? Because it's like, he's fronting. He just bought a new truck. I better get a new truck. This guy just bought a new fifth wheel trailer. I better get a fifth wheel trailer. This guy just bought this. This guy just did that. This guy went on vacation. This guy went this. Meanwhile, everybody's living in debt. Nobody's taking care of themselves. I think so many people live in a fraud world today because they're fronting and not being real. I was caught up in that shit for a long time, bro. I'm going to be 50 years old in January. Like, I don't want to live that way anymore. And I think this is what I'm talking about with National Fire Radio. It's the one blessing of it, selfishly for me, is it's made me a better person. I think people are lonely today because guys aren't allowed to, I don't know, get close and fuzzy, right? Like, my circle today is super tight, and I hug them too long, and I share with them too much. Mm-hmm. But I know the return that I personally get from that is important. And I think, it's a lonely world today. And I think if you were just willing to pick your head up and have real conversation, have real relationships, recognize that you're going to make mistakes, you're at fault, you're a human, and you have humility and you have a sense of awareness, I think you can develop really good relationships today that don't have to be on the spectrum. It doesn't have to be a spectacle. It doesn't have to be taken pictures of and posted. Not every vacation, not every dinner, not every event has to be posted for the world to see. Enjoy it yourself, man. I got to take my wife out to dinner after this. I totally forgot. I was like, because we were gonna go earlier, and then I was like, wait, no, I got to get to the studio, and that's why I'm running late. And I was like, it's been a crazy day today, but like, I don't take pictures at the restaurant. Hey, look at us. Like, I don't. Yeah. it's not what I want to do. It's nobody's business if I go to dinner with my wife. I don't need to put it on display. And I think that adds to the falsehood of what so many people live and do. I mean, look at dating. I mean, I'm not young, but like you look at the numbers of dating and how people are dating now and how popular casual sex is and like all these things where none of that shit means anything anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just very shallow. The world feels like
well said,
but it is because of the shallowness at a 10,000 foot view that makes people like strongly desire closeness at a 10-foot view. It means a lot for me and a lot for you to find closeness in our life, because everything we see around us all day, every day feels so shallow. And
well said.
And a community like National Fire Radio has built, the fire service as a community offers that to people if they're willing to embrace it. But so often we're stuck in the bravado that is I'm a hard charging fireman, I can't talk about how I feel, that we refuse to take the first step. But I'm telling you, and I know you'll agree, that when you take that step with people, everyone leans in. If you go into a group of firemen and somebody starts talking about the real, like an authentic conversation, the whole room leans in. Everyone makes it seem like they don't really want to talk about that. But when somebody's brave enough to take that first step, everyone leans in because everyone truly wants that. They're just afraid of being outcast. But it's really an unfounded fear. That's my belief.
Yes. However, I think I'm also, like, again, a walking contradiction, right? Like, I have my inner circle, and those are the guys that know my deepest, darkest to a point. Like you have to, my wife and I were just talking about this not too long ago. We had something happen to a couple that we were friends with, not like incredibly close with, but something happened in their marriage. And we're like, man, I didn't see that coming. And I go, well, how would we? Like, you don't know, like people my wife doesn't know my deepest, darkest inners. You know what I'm saying? Like your best friends don't. It's what we're willing to let people know. Right. And I think that that's really interesting. It's like, you don't know. And I said this to my kids, like, as my kids were growing up, I said, those kids in your school, I grew up as the bully, man. I was the big kid on the school bus. I was a bully. I picked on kids. Like, that was who I was. Like, and that was my upbringing for a very long time until I got punched in the face and recognized that there's always going to be somebody bigger and stronger than you, right? And I was that bully that got checked by Kareem El-Taki. He fucking knocked me out, man. Cheap shot,
what a name.
Egyptian kid, strong as you believe, man. Yeah. And that was, and I talk about this in my Bridging the Gap program. Years later at a high school reunion, I bought him a beer and thanked him for punching me in the face. And he didn't even remember that. But I remember that back from 8th grade. So
see, this is a thing that I have had a foundational shift in. I'm someone that historically has carried a lot of secrets and a lot of things that I felt that I just kept to myself. And I'm sure you don't know this about me, but last year I actually went through the Center of Excellence in Maryland. I spent 38 days out in Maryland and changed my life.
Good for you.
And on the backside of that, now I am literally like this open book. There's no secrets. There's no heaviness. There's no anything. And a big tenet that they teach in that program is that everyone that's carrying this weight believes that their secrets are the thing that keep them safe. But in all reality, their secrets are the thing that are keeping them sick. And when you open that up and you talk to the people around you, there's levity in that, and there's closeness in that, and that community is what carries you through when you have the inevitably dark days that come. It has been a change of paradigm for me, and I try to proselytize it as I go out in the world because I think that we would all benefit from opening our circles a little bit more and allowing people in. Doesn't necessarily mean I have to go bare my soul to the lady at Walgreens or something, but there's definitely some people that maybe go too far with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I think I was going, right, with my point is like, I don't think sitting around and having kumbaya episodes at the, at the firehouse every night at the table is what we need.
No.
But I think the availability to have those conversations with people around you, feeling safe that you can do that. I don't know if it's the firehouse, but it can be a fireman, right? It could be one of your buddies. It can be an outlet. And I agree with you. Like, yes, you do need to get it out. But you don't know what everybody's dealing with. And and that's what I was getting at with like talking to my kids growing up. It's like that kid, it could be the popular kid or the kid that gets picked on every day. You don't know what they're dealing with at home. You just don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And that goes for our buddies. That goes for their spouses. That goes for our friends' marriages, the way they treat their children, the way they, whatever it is. Like you don't know. People only let you in with what they want you to see. Mm-hmm. And I was that way for a long time, and I have gotten much better at allowing people in. I've also been a lot better at unloading shit. And it does make you better. It makes me stronger. It makes me feel refreshed that I'm not carrying all this weight or anxiety on me, right? That it's one, what's that thing, when you're one flat tire away from like crumbling, right? Like, it's that type of thing. And I don't want that for anybody. I don't. But we also have to, I think, maintain a level, like we need the bravado and we need ego also in what we do. And so it's finding that balance. Like I can't have a bunch of fucking wet soaked bread showing up at a fire scene, right? I need a truck of go-getters and egos that are going to tell the chief, like, we'll get in there, we'll get it done, right? That's important.
I think you're dead right on that. And what I would pivot that to is that I don't want hollow ego. I want real confidence through competence. Right? I want people to care about training enough to become competent. Through that competence, they become confident. And then that ego is not just bravado. It is full-fledged confidence. I can go do that because I am capable of doing it. And that is what the fire service needs more than anything.
And I think the way you just spelled it out needs to be talked at much longer and in depth. Like people need to understand that difference between hollow ego, right? Is that what you said? Hollow
ego. Yeah.
That is really well said, saying it that way. I think that really paints a picture as to what type of people we actually need and want on our fire apparatus.
Yeah, we want people that can say, I can do that. And they saying it because they actually can, not because they're worried that somebody might think they couldn't. Right.
100%.
And that is the battle that we fight in the fire service, which is how do we make those people? Right? How do we hire those people? How do we retain those people? How do we promote those people? That is, if we can solve those problems, we would have one hell of a fire department.
I love it because that then goes hand in hand with what I always talk about is like initiative. How do you teach people to take initiative? It's making them good at what they're good at. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Like it's simple, but it's not. Like I look at it this way. Oh, firefighting's it's a team activity. No, it's not. I mean, it is, but it's not, right? Like how many jobs do you do on a fire ground by yourself? Right. And a lot of times nobody's looking. So like one of the things that I brought up not too long ago was, do I have the trust in the reports being given that search was conducted and completed on that second floor, or did they not make that back room? Do I have the trust that when I tell a guy to go to the rear and open up and I know he's going to get to the floor above over a 24, that he's going to do that? Like I have to have trust in the process. And that trust comes from educating and training our people to be able to take initiative and make decisions when nobody's looking, right? And that to me, like character, it's what you do when nobody's looking, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I need to know that. And firefighting is an individual game at many levels, right? And we're running short-staffed, we're running small crews, and it's like, okay, 3-man engine. Well, you got your driver, You got your nozzle man, and the officer is going to open up and back you up because the next engine's 3 minutes out, right? Yeah. Now he's going to be like, okay, you get that line and keep going. I'm going to start searching off the line, right? You're working alone. He's going to search alone. We're not going to be like, we have to wait for the next guy's in, so I'll sit with you. Bullshit. We work independently so often on the fire ground because we have so much to do with littler and littler resources. Correct. So I have to trust that we've given you the foundation to be able to do your job and do it well and do it thorough. And one of my biggest concerns now is when you assign a job and they get back to you quickly and say the job's completed and you go, I don't know, I've been doing this a long time. How the fuck did they do it that quick, right?
Yeah. So I call that, when I teach, I call that loaded and unloaded confidence. By that means like referring to a gun. Like, I want you to have the confidence that the gun is unloaded. Like, when you tell me that the primary search is complete, when you say it is complete, you would pull the trigger on that gun because you're so confident that it's unloaded, right? That's the kind of confidence. If you can't tell me the primary is clear with that level of confidence, then you need to do the job better, right?
Well said. Well said.
And so this brings me into kind of bridging back to what you were talking about earlier with some of the problems with competitiveness in the fire service. There is a problem, but there's also a needed competitiveness for the sake of rising tides.
100%.
So how do we balance those two things? Bad competition versus good competition.
What's bad competition?
I guess conniving, maybe, potentially, pushing yourself up at the sake of the people around you. We've all seen that in the fire service.
Sure. I mean, the reason why I'm pushing back a little bit is because I really want to pick your brain as to what you think it means, right? Because I don't know, like, competition is incredibly healthy. We have a fire service today where there's not a lot of competition for, I don't know, positioning. Like, if we're in a career fire service, we're hiring based off of a intellectual test. Do we do interview and practicals with them? Not for company officer, typically, right? Only to when you get to a higher chief position, will they do a panel and interview and maybe talk tactics and strategy. But so healthy competition, in that regard, where's the competition? If you could read or write, what if I have dyslexia and I don't do well on the test, but I'm a gangster on the street, right? Like, sure. Competition, right? When you look at first in companies trying to get there before the first in company, like, that's healthy competition. Like, I think competition is good across the board. I think competition makes you better. It holds you accountable. Can there be a downside to it? Probably. If it's done maliciously, if it's done in a way that it's designed to put others down, to pick yourself up, it's more than just bad competition. That's a much bigger issue that, stems deeper than that. But I'm curious because I'm trying to wrap my brain around that question, right? Because I love competition. I think when people can walk into a position with not much opposition, it becomes very comfortable and complacency can creep in very quickly, right?
I agree with you. Hey guys, we got a special guest for the ad reads today.
Hey gang, if you could please do me a favor, I would really appreciate it. That would be to subscribe you on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Follow the show and the social media and share the show and your posts whenever you can. It really makes more of a difference than you might think. Bye!
Very good. Apparently, we're going to do some reading practice tonight. But the rest of this podcast is brought to you by Hikes Boots. You can tell a lot about a brand by the way they choose to advertise. And Hikes didn't ask me to say anything specifically. You know what they did? They sent me a couple pairs of boots. They sent me the Fire Eagle Air and the Fire Eagle Extreme. One is a pull-up boot, one is a lace-up boot. Super comfortable. The lace-up boot, especially, I was really skeptical at first, if I'm being honest. And it's one handle. You pull it, it tightens around your calf, it tightens around your lower foot and your upper foot and your ankle, and it's super comfortable. I mean, you have to try it to believe it, how comfortable it really is. If you want to find out more information, check it out at hikesusa.com. That's HAIXUSA.com, or check the show notes for the direct link. Rigaku. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Rigaku Analytical Devices, who are the folks that are perfecting the 1064 nanometer ramen longer than some of us have even been doing hazmat. And they just launched their 4th generation handheld analyzer, the Icon X. It's built specifically for real world things that hazmat teams deal with every day. We're talking about dirty powders, mixed materials, dyes, colors, all the things that make other instruments throw a tantrum. The 1064 nanometer laser means reduced fluorescence, so you get fast, reliable chemical ID in under a minute, and not staring at a blank screen just wondering what you went wrong with. And this new platform isn't just an upgrade, it's a whole new toolbox. It supports new accessories, including standoff analysis, so you can get the answers without getting too close. If you want an analyzer that's been evolving right alongside the hazmat world, check out Rigaku's newest ramen at rigakuanalytical.com, or check the show notes. Back to the show. And I leaned that question back on the idea that you were talking earlier about loneliness and what people navigating this world of social media and fakeness and lack of authenticity. And so, we want to push away that lack of authenticity and that fake competition in that regard. But obviously we must foster it in terms of the meritocracy that the fire service should be.
Yeah, I worry, people, it's funny because I said early on in life, when I was a kid, grade school kid, I was a bully, right? I was the big kid on the school bus, right? Big kid on the playground. And I was a bully, right? Younger. As I got, I wasn't in high school. After middle school, I grew out of that shit. I wasn't that way. And so on. But now I look at it in business with National Fire Radio, even on the fire ground and in the fire service in this area where I am, there had been things thrown around that he's a bully, he's this, he's that. And it's not that anymore. See, the other side of this is what's the difference between being a bully and conviction? I believe wholeheartedly in the shit that I talk about, right? Because I've recognized that I'm going to stay in my lane and talk about things that I know and I know well, that I do and I demonstrate every day. And so I look at it this way. In business, I make decisions and I have a lot of people that report to me in a lot of different ways. I'll make a decision. I will absolutely listen to your way, and you can pitch me on an idea. I listen to my kids. They pitch me on shit all the time. And it's if I think it's good, let's go. I'll green light that. But there's also times where I'm that's not going to work. We're going to stay doing it my way. And people can be intimidated by that. And where I'm going with this is exactly that. Intimidation. Weak people get intimidated by people that have conviction, and we call them different names. We call them bullies, right? We call them arrogant. We call them all these different things. I think part of our issues today is that we have names for everything that already had names. Right?
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, at the end of the day, we should be able to disagree. I should be able to tell you, no, you're doing that wrong. Let me show you how to do it correctly because, hey, I might have more experience in that lane, or I might have already made the same mistakes, but I would love for you to listen to me. And when you go in and tell them they're doing it wrong, all of a sudden their guard goes up. Now it's anything he's going to tell me, they don't listen. They dismiss because now you're trying to tell me how to do something. You're correcting my behavior. People are so very sensitive today. And so it's am I a bully, or do I just have conviction? Am I assertive in my response to you? Am I assertive in my actions? Do I know and have confidence in my physicality or in my mental capacity in this situation? And we go to places where people are intimidated, or they shut down, or they're, you're a bully and you're, in this and that. And I'm no, I'm not a fucking bully. I believe in what I'm saying. I would love for you to gain some confidence in your own skills and abilities so you could be that way too. I love people that can make a decision and stand by it. I love people that can be assertive. I love people that can, take a stand and move forward, right? That's important stuff. And I find today in the fire service, we're lacking a lot of that. And then when you go to have the hard conversations, they crumble. And then guys like me, I go, don't crumble on me, bro. I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
I had a situation today with a guy. I called him to check in on him. This is my world outside of the fire service. Called to check in on him. He hasn't been producing. He's been having a hard time. The conversation started going down that road. I started holding him accountable. He started pushing back and pushing back and pushing back. And I finally said to him, I said, you got to stop talking and you need to listen. I said, I'm trying to help you and I'm addressing these issues and all you have are excuses and reasons why. I said, I'd rather you just stop giving me excuses that aren't valid and just listen to what I'm saying. And at the end of the conversation, we can find corrective ways to fix it. We go through this whole thing. At the end of it, we end the I'm like, well, I'm going to go because I'm like, we're not making any progress here. I'm like, you need anything or you got any more concerns or thoughts, you call me, whatever. Calls me an hour later, and it's a whole different conversation. He goes, hey, man, I just want to tell you, you're right. I need to listen more. I recognize that's one of my traits and blah, blah, blah. And he goes down this whole road basically apologizing. And I go, bro, I don't need you to apologize. I'm like, I want you to recognize that what I'm doing is trying to correct some behaviors. I'm trying to make you aware that you're not hitting targets. I'm trying to make you understand that you're not fulfilling your duty in your role in this position. And what you need to do is understand that my job is to bring you in line. I'm not upset with you. This isn't fucking personal. It's business. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm empathetic to your situation. I understand your feelings around this. There's no hard feelings. I go, you took this entire thing personal. You let feelings get in the way of fact. And that is a big problem today in the fire service is what are we arguing at the end of the day? And 9 out of 10 times we're arguing feelings over fact. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
Do you think that those business management skills translate directly to the fire service, or is there some lane that needs to shift between the two?
Yeah, there's incredible bleed over, right? Like do I manage the same way at the firehouse that I do in my business and in my personal life? No, man, everything's a different lane, right? And it's like, you can bring over skills from all of them, but at the end of the day, like there has to be a way to soften some of your approach here and harden it here, right? I do find that the firehouse is super unique compared to the corporate world, and I'm in a blue collar corporate world, right? So I'm in factories and plants and manufacturing facilities and all that stuff. So I'm dealing with a lot of tradesmen anyway. So it's similar to the ball busting and laughter of the fire service, right? Where you got to have some thick skin. But I know in the firehouse, I can cut a little bit deeper. And I can, and I can take them to a point, but then I can bring them back. Like the social corporate norms don't live in the firehouse and they don't belong in the firehouse. And when we have people in our firehouses today running to HR and we're looking for a third party to arbitrate our arguments and problems in the firehouse, that's where it bleeds over to the corporate world, which I can't tolerate. We should be able to police our own. We should be able to handle 90% of it in-house. We should be able to have a senior man and officer be able to informally take care of things without having to put it on paper. Like these are all things that I think we've gotten away from. We're worried about liability. We're worried about senior man positions. We have insecure bosses today that don't let senior people stand up and lead, right? Because now they don't control the narrative in their own house. And it's all this shit. These are things that are happening every day in firehouses. The fire service has been doing it right for so long. We can't let the private sector get into our firehouses, but we're doing it every day.
Why do you think that some people feel motivated to corporatize the fire service?
I think it's the same reason why everybody is so hot and heavy on metrics and all the science of everything today. People are starving for information today, right? We have more information than ever before. We have information at your fingertips everywhere we go. And so the younger generations of today are information whores, right? They go on Reddit and they read up on something, right? They go here and they read about this. They look at reviews. Like I talk to guys when they go on I know guys that plan vacations.
By that you mean the itinerary or what?
Yes. Oh, I want to find the best I want to find this, and we're going to day trip here, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to do. I'm like, shut the fuck up and just go on vacation. Like, I know guys that put together like full itineraries, and I go, I don't have enough time in the day to like literally, I don't know, eat lunch, let alone plan my vacation. I leave for vacation. I'm going on vacation this Saturday for a week. Mm-hmm. I haven't even thought about it yet.
You know where you're going, and that's it.
That's
you
it.
arrive, and it's time.
I booked it. It's a house at the beach. We're going to the beach. We know the restaurants down there already. We know the lay of the land. My wife is frantic because we haven't talked about it yet. How are we? Who's driving? Are the kids meeting us there? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I'm like, we'll figure it out, right? But it's like, we're so hungry for a plan and a process and information, and I need to make a decision, but I need 15 inputs before I make the best decision. Like, I don't think that's wrong in a lot of situations. Like if we're testing SCBA or fire hose, what's the best? Now, hose and nozzle pairings, like let's do our homework, right? But when it comes to like managing people, that stuff now starts to get in the way, right? And where we should be able to take a more informal approach where 20 years ago in the firehouse, I could pull a guy by the fucking collar, pull him in the back of the firehouse and be like, you fucked up, man. Like you put us all on spotlight tonight. Like you jammed us up, man. Like we should be able to handle that unless it has to get above a level where then the next level has to jump in. But we've gotten away from this formalness. Like the informal was always formal. It was just informal, right? That layer of like, policing our own and senior men controlling the firehouse and running the tempo, and none of the problems should get to our officer. It should go through the senior guy before it gets to the officer. And if the officer has to get involved, then it's something pretty serious. We have young guys going around the senior man and around the company officer and going to a fucking chief about shit.
Yeah.
That guy should be strung up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think that is the culture at large that's causing those issues, or is it something that's happening inside the fire service?
I think it's culture at large. I mean, I see that in the corporate world too. I see people are not willing, and I can understand it to an extent, right? If you stick your neck out for something that happens, and all of a sudden it turns around, it could literally bite you in the ass. And like today, we're so liturgical and we're so, so focused on things getting out there. I think of that. I forget what city, and we don't need to mention what city, but like the engine pulls up and like one of the strippers hops out of the truck. They probably gave her a ride down the block, right? We've all given hot girls a ride in a fire truck for 2 blocks and dropped them off. Like we've all done it, but now it's captured on phone and now it gets out, and now the company officer's in a jam because he didn't do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And so like the problem is like the informal formalness now has to become more formal because there's more ways to hold us all accountable because everything's out there for people to see. And as soon as it hits that, you're fucked. Like, and that's the problem, right?
Yeah. It's strange because in so many ways we're demanding accountability in the fire service, right? We're demanding accountability in terms of we want better hiring. We want better training. We want people to get in trouble when they don't meet the standards, all these things. But in other ways, we do want to have things a little bit looser than the corporate environment that they're pushing upon us. So it's this balancing act of accountability we want accountability in some areas, but in the other areas, it's not necessarily not wanting accountability for a behavior, but it's like hey, it's supposed to be, it's not a corporate environment. I'm not a polo guy. Like I don't feel, they want to inject a different type of accountability than maybe the fire service really wants. But then you go, so if I'm going to go double-edged sword, there's also seems to be at least a contingent of the fire service that loves that. I work in the city, in the ghetto, like that is where I work. But there is the suburbs and the second ring suburbs and the third ring suburbs that seem perfectly happy wearing polos and doing public education events every day and sprinkler inspections. And don't get me wrong, it's not a knock on them. They're still firemen. They're still doing the thing. We still go to the same fires. The temperature is still the same thing. But
they're
does feel like there's a rift in the fire service between the people that want to get dirty and work in the ghetto, and then there's people that are perfectly happy to wear a polo and inspect sprinklers.
There's a reason why you're a fireman where you're a fireman. And no, I mean that. Like, and what you're saying is the difficulty of this. I've said it 3 times. I'll say it for a 4th time. We're a walking contradiction. Mm-hmm. We want it one way, but it's another way. We want it that way, but it's another way. Nothing's perfect, but we are starting to, I think everybody going to information and being more educated than ever before. Everybody wants things to be black and white until they don't want it to be black and white.
Yeah.
You know, we live in a world of gray, and until you can educate people to recognize that you just can't have it your way. We live in a gray society. Everything in this world, look at politics. Look at what team you got to be on. You know, you have to be red and blue today. You can't be purple. Why can't I find value with the Democrats and the Republicans?
Why can't I hate everyone?
That's right. Why can't I? Right.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that's what I'm getting at is like, the problem is when the real conversation is we live in a world of contradiction. We live in a world of gray. We can't always just be black and white. And when we always try to look, especially in the fire service, at black and white, we're going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. When you look at operationally on the fire ground, if we go by our SOGs, right, and we operate always as they predict, we will make a mistake. We won't opportunize an opportunity that presents itself. We won't make that push. We won't get to that victim because my SOG is hampering the way we work because it's written in black and white, but we live in a world of gray. I have to make decisions on the fly sometimes, and then we penalize people for that. I have a very hard time with that. Like you think about it this way. We want our people to make decisions. They make a decision and you crap all over them. They're not going to make a fucking decision again.
Yeah.
You know, and my management style in corporate world and in the firehouse was, I need you to make a decision. Make a decision make the very best decision you can make at that moment based upon your training, your information, your knowledge, what's happening at hand. Make a decision. We can talk about it later if it wasn't the very best decision, and you can explain to me why you made that decision. I can't hold you at fault. Right? Yeah. I need people to make decisions. If we're going to crap on them and manage poor leaders and poor chiefs and bosses, crap all over people for making a decision, they're not going to make a decision again.
Mm-hmm. So that what you're talking about exactly is a concept I call articulable and defendable.
I love smart guys like you because I'm not smart. So you got all this shit. You package all this up and you have words for all of it. I love it. So educate me, man. What is it called?
Articulable and defendable decisions. So if I want to have latitude on the fire scene, I want to be able to know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So if a chief comes to me and I make a decision outside of policy and I can tell him exactly what I did and why I did it, I have a lot of latitude. So my goal in training is to build that latitude because then I'm versatile on a fire scene.
I love it.
Right. So as we look to start wrapping up, I know we started a little late, so I don't want to keep you forever.
You're
I know
good, man. I'm
Mrs.
good.
Donch,
We're rolling.
Got to eat some food at some point here.
She's fine. Don't worry about her.
You've talked to a lot of people. You've talked a lot about leadership. What is the leadership advice that you see proliferated across the fire service that you do not believe in?
I'm a big chain of command guy. I get really upset. I kind of alluded to that before. Mm-hmm. I'm a believer that, you know, there's layers and layers are there on purpose. We should be going through the layers of command, and it should be done from a company level to a battalion level or whatever, you know, division, you know, up through whatever. But I'm just saying in the everyday stuff too, I think people, you know, this whole, idea of, and I don't know who coined the term, but it's a pretty good term. It's that buddy and boss thing, right? As the fire service trends younger, volunteer and career, as it trends younger, you find people are more friends than hierarchy, if you will. And so now it's like, you're my buddy. We're laughing. We're in the same Snapchat groups. We're ball busting. The lieutenant's the same age as all his backstep guys, right? He just got made first and they're all buddy. And then all of a sudden he's got to make a decision, or he's got to hold his people accountable. And they look at him and be like, you were just fucking off with us 10 minutes ago. And now you're telling us to do this. Like, that's all part of that. And that's something that I'm seeing that is becoming very difficult for people to navigate. And I think when we lose the structure within our departments, where like, you know, the company officer needs to be the company officer. They need to remove themselves from the room at times so their guys can be themselves, right? They need to know, God, I forget who it was. I think Mike Chempo just said it on a recent episode I did with him, where he talked about, you know, the chief taking his shirt off. And when he takes his shirt off, it's the conversation can flow, right? It's like, it's that type of stuff. I think that's important. I don't know, leadership wise, like, I think we're getting too focused on other aspects of the fire service. I think that fire departments that lose track of what we're here for are the ones that are really having culture issues. I think when you remove firemanship as the goal of the fire department, when we take away the aspect of structural firefighting as the primary and everything else is secondary, we lose our focus as an organization. And when we lose our focus at the core mission, then that will certainly suffer. Our delivery of services will suffer. The amount of training we put into it suffers, which means our services suffer, which means our citizens suffer. And I'm watching a lot of fire departments, career and volunteer, get confused about who we are and what we do. Identities are changing. And I think when identities change, at the end of the day, what suffers the most is the firefighting aspect, because nobody else is coming. Like the fire department is the fire department, period. And if we're not good and focusing at our mission of firefighting, we lose our mission as an organization and people get confused. And I think that that's a real problem today. I think we need to get back to the core focus, firemanship first, everything else second. And when we set that up and we have our departments are designed that way, where we promote training, operations, strategy, tactics, when that is the forefront of what we do on a daily basis, and then everything else accompanies that, we're clear and precise in our mission. And we know that we'd be given the tools and the opportunity to do it and do it well. We can't let our people get confused. And I think a lot of people are getting confused.
How does a chief go to a city government or a mayor or a city council and say, we need money for training, we need money for structure fires and fire operations and all the things to do the plan that you outlay, which is beautiful, when they say, well, 85% of your runs or 80% of your runs are EMS. Yeah. Why aren't you doing more of that?
Yeah, that's a real conversation. And I don't have a solid answer other than, at the end of the day, that 15% of fires that we go to are typically more catastrophic than your 85% of whatever else we're doing. And so we need to be very good at that, right? There's a reason why there's a career fire department in this jurisdiction. It's because when the fire happens, we are the only ones going, right? So it's like, I think focusing on the core mission, but I also look at it this way too. There are things fundamentally departments can do throughout their culture that promotes firemanship that doesn't require money, right? It's getting out and putting hose in the street every day. It's working on a prop. It's making your own props. It's setting up your apparatus for structural, assignments. It's setting up your equipment properly. It's having a lineup every morning and that the guys are getting their SCBA and equipment in check and ready to go. It's having that mantra and culture. Listen, some of the very best fire departments in the world have shit funding, that have shit equipment, but they kick ass and kick doors and save people every fucking day. And so, it's not a town hall thing to be firemanship focused. This can be done by maintaining the line and recognizing that we are a fire department and we turn out for fires first. Fire first, everything else second. We can't lose sight of that. And you can do that in your poorest communities with the least amount of resources. We can still be the fire department. I believe that.
I think you're right. It's the thing that I think the fire service as a whole struggles with. I was talking about this in a past podcast, which is everyone comes into the fire service to be a great fireman, right? They come in, the phone call they got from the chief was the greatest day of their life, and now they get to join the academy or whatever the process might be. And then at some point, the fire dims, and the candle flickers, and the drive that they once had to do all the checks and care about the nuance goes away. How does someone that wants to work an entire career keep the fire alive?
A couple things, right? Like, I think fire departments have to do a better job at advertising what they're actually about and what they do, right? You know, we're looking to hire firefighters, and you want to be a ghetto fireman, but you're going to ride the ambulance for the first 15 years. They should know that going into it, right? And you chose it. Like, it didn't mean you needed to be a fireman there. If you want to go to fires, go to a fire department that goes to fires. Test, uproot your life. Go make your job getting hired to go to fires, right? Like, so I put some of the onus on the people, right? Like, guys that walk into fire departments and complain that they're on an ambulance all the time. You tell me they didn't know that when they were walking into that department?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people,
you're dead right.
We have
I work
to
for a fire department that transports. So I spent a lot of time out of the ambulance before I got my squad time. And it's, there are a lot of people that complain about it, but you're dead right.
And I don't I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm just saying, like, you know,
nobody has you handcuffed to the radiator, right? You can go if you're not happy. And obviously our pensions are very powerful.
Of course.
And so people stay longer than they maybe would want to because they have a retirement they wouldn't otherwise have.
I get it.
But I do think that's for some reason we lose touch with the idea. And especially, I would be interested to get your take on this, but especially in the newer generation that gets hired so young that they never had shitty jobs. And so, like, if you get hired at 19 and you never, like,
you don't know any better,
did hard manual labor,
right?
And then now all of a sudden you're on your, like, 5th call of the day and you think that your life is so taxing, and you realize that somebody's been, like, moving engine blocks all day. Yeah. And, like, that's what actual work looks like. Not like, I always describe my job as hanging out with my best friends and occasionally doing my favorite thing.
Yeah, and we complain about it.
That is the fire service, right?
And we complain about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like, so how have we lost our perspective so bad and so frequently? It's not scattered clouds. We are, like, the fire service has a plague of unappreciative people that don't realize how good we have it.
Yeah. But I also think those are the same people that complain about everything else in life too. Right.
And probably the same people that comment on our videos.
100%. I always say this: if you're a piece of shit outside of the firehouse, you're a piece of shit in the firehouse.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what do you, I don't know, who wants to work somewhere where they complain all day? Who wants to surround themselves with people that complain? Negativity is so contagious. It's even more contagious than positivity because it's easy to be negative. It doesn't take any work. Yeah. To be positive takes work. If you're not happy in your own career or you're not happy in your volunteer firehouse, fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you've lost that flame or you feel down and out and you feel like the job's letting you down, fix it. You're letting it win. You're letting complacency creep in. You don't get to fucking complain. It's your life. You make those decisions. It's like being in an unhappy marriage. If you're not going to do anything about it, stop complaining.
Yeah.
You don't like your job? Move on. If you're unhappy, fix it. Like we've gotten so far away of people accepting responsibility for their own shit. How about this? Let's try something new, Jake. Everybody should just take responsibility for their own shit.
Oh, what a concept, huh?
It's so simple, but I listen to guys bitch and moan all day long. And I go, what are you fucking complaining about? Is this really important? Because, like, I say that I know this one guy all the time. Anytime I talk to him, it's always something. And I go, bro, you want to switch shoes with me for 24 hours? I go, I will switch with you any day. You take on the amount of responsibility that I shoulder. You do the different jobs that I work, my family, all this shit. You take on what I deal with every day and see if you have a new appreciation for how fucking simple your life is. You golf 3 days a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But do you think that what's the catalyst for that? Is it are people softer now than they've ever been, or is it why? Like, I feel like that's the cliche answer, which is, well, we used to walk uphill both ways, but why is it that people feel out of touch with how good we really have it?
I think because it is so good, they don't know what it's like to struggle. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you look at the previous generations, right, when you look at the greatest generation, World War II and the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, and then you go to the silent generation with the McCarthy era style government, smallest population ever, right, because they're coming off the back of famine and despair and the wars, right? And then you look at boomers, like every generation has something, but the last couple generations, like I'm Gen X, right? So I was raised in the late 80s, early 90s, born in 77, graduated high school in 95, right? Like that was an incredible time. We raised ourselves. You had two parents working in a house. You had divorce on an all-time high, like all this shit, right? Like that generation changed. We raised ourselves, right? So we're more diverse. We're more exposed to adversity and getting kicked in the teeth and doing all these things, right? Then you look at like millennials, and then you look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha. The last three generations have had it incredibly well. We haven't had a time where these kids, I mean, other than COVID, what in the last 25 years was a kick in the teeth to people? And when you look at where we are today, even with interest rates and the gas prices are high and the price of food is up, housing market's out of control, people live outside of their means and they still do it. Like, but they're not. All of a sudden, just wait. If this economy drops with all the debt that people owe, how many people live outside of their means? You're going to start to see real struggle real fucking fast. The repo man is going to be knocking on every firefighter's door because every guy's driving a $100,000 pickup truck. They got a camper park in a driveway and they have a house that they can't afford, right? Mm-hmm. And so when the shit goes bad, maybe then guys will have something to complain about, that they've been living outside of their means and now the world's catching up with them. We've lived in soft times. We've lived in easy times. Me included. I'm guilty of it too, right? I've just come to recognize that there's no need to complain. There's no need to complain.
So we've spent the better part which is great. I'm not complaining.
Is this what you wanted? Like, I feel bad. Like, we didn't talk about.
I love this. No, but we're going to flip the script here, right? We've talked about all the things that the fire service is doing wrong. What gives you hope for the future of the fire service?
We get to go to fires. Like, it's the best fucking job in the world, right? Like going to a fire, riding that high, that euphoria of pushing yourself and making yourself better each time, getting kicked in the teeth, bleeding, barfing, all that shit, the high fives, the ass slaps, the laughter, the tears. I wouldn't give that up for the world, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it's still so good. It's you said it. You go to work with your best friends and go to fires. Like, fuck yeah, bro. Like, I'm not riding, you know, I'm not an accountant, and I'm okay with that. Like, I just, the fire service is so good. And to kind of bring it back around, right? Because we're starting to wrap here, is like, we have this. People have an outlet today. You have a way to find people to connect with more than ever before. What social media has done good for the fire service, you want to talk about the good side of it? It brings lost people to a place where they can find other lost people, where they can find each other and succeed. You can find a fire conference that can give you what you're looking for because your local zip code doesn't train. You can find a guy 5 towns over or 6 states away that believes in what you're talking about, and now you made a connection. You and I would have never have connected if not for these opportunities. Mm-hmm. This is what makes the fire service so good. We have the idea of community, and when you let your guard down and allow people in, and you recognize how good the fire service is, we will fucking win. Mm-hmm. We have to do more of that. We have to talk about how good it is. Everybody complains. We live in a world today of bitching and moaning, and nobody is happy about a damn thing. And I say, fuck that. Let's talk about the good of it. Let's promote the betterment of the fire service. Let's protect the core values. Let's draw a line in the sand and say, we're not going to give this up. This must stay. These core values, these tenets that we live and die by, we can't sacrifice these. We have to protect the integrity of the fire service. We have to, for the sake of those guys that came long before us with the blood, sweat, and tears that they put into building firehouses and saving lives and going to fires to where we are today. We can't squander what all these people have done for us prior to where we are today. We can't squander that. So we have an obligation to carry on and promote the fire service and recognize that it's still very, very good. It might look a little bit different, but it's still very good. And I get to travel and go talk to guys and go to firehouses and ride in busy companies and sit at kitchen tables and talk with guys like you and others. And I recognize very quickly that this is why the fire service is winning, because there are people out there that still love it and promote it every day. And I'm grateful for that. And I hope that I can be a small part of that, because at the end of the day, that's what pushes this job forward. That's what gets that 7-year-old kid, that 11-year-old kid sitting at a red light watching the fire truck go by, want to be us. Period.
It's beautiful, and there's no other better way to end it than that. A beautiful bow for the end of it. Jeremy, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a thrill. Thank you for doing the show, and thank you for everything that you're doing to make the fire service the way that it should be, and great.
Well, bro, thank you. But I want to say thank you to you, because like roses for you, man, because what you're doing is good and you're making an impact and you're sharing your own experiences, thoughts, and ideas. And I think that that's incredibly important. And so thank you for doing what you do, because you make an impact every single day too. And so, if we can affect one person, if we can have one person think differently about a situation, or one person to think about speaking out against something in their firehouse or promoting the fire service or protecting those values, then bro, we're doing our job, man. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you.